Well, good evening. My name is Willie Harris, and I'm here to brief to you the possibility of conducting some training on behalf of NAVSUP, the headquarters, for the realignment of NAVSUP GLS into integrate NAVSUP GLS into the NAVSUP headquarters claimantcy. Now, the reason we need to do this is because there are definitely customer service expectations that are a little bit different between one organization and another, and we want to streamline and make things everything so it's the same all the way through the continuity of operations, if you will, so that our customers get used to expecting the same quality of service from our new employees that they already receive from the current employees. This is going to be a little telling given that our current organization has 60 employees and the organization that we're absorbing in has 80. So now, before we go into this, I wanted to say that the whole purpose of this, or as I'm going to explain, the whole purpose of us doing this training is so that we can maintain a seamless continuity. Now, before we go too much further, I feel like we do need to address the elephant in the room, if you will. How did we decide what we needed to do? Well, it would be easy for us to sit in a room and just brainstorm a bunch of ideas and throw them up, and that's exactly what we did to create a survey. We created this survey and then dispatched this survey to many of our management team. Now we've got, out of that 60 that we mentioned, I have 20 of those are managers. Out of the 80 that we're bringing over, probably 30 of those are managers, okay, without giving it any serious thought, of various realms, okay. So what we had to do is dispatch a survey to some of those managers and some of the employees and get a baseline expectation of the kind of training that is necessary. And that's how we developed what is going to be required for the training. How do we get to that? We're going to validate the need for the training. And we're going to do that in a couple different ways. We're going to go out and do the surveys right now and check with our customers. We're also going to check with the employees and see how they feel about things. With any change, there's a lot of uncertainty. And through training, we can remove some of that uncertainty and give everyone an established baseline. So one of the things we did discuss, however, in our brainstorming session with the other managers and the HR team was what level of training is already out there. Now in the FM community, and everyone in the comptroller shop is FM, Financial Management Professionals. There are a lot of required trainings. Most of them have nothing at all to do with customer service, interaction with other humans. They only deal with interaction with the services, what's legal, what's not legal, which policies are out there, when were those policies instituted, what do we have to follow, how do you pass an audit, things like that. What are required retention of personnel of files, financial records, not personnel files. So one of the things we realized very quickly is that there was a training delta, a discrepancy in the interaction between other humans and which would result in customer service. And so that's what we're going to focus on. And that's how we actually went about validating the training requirement. When we looked around through the required trainings that are already provided through DoD and Department of the Navy, we realized that those trainings are not readily available. So as we started looking at the various trainings that were out there, we did realize that there are different trainings that we could look for. We could look for off-the-shelf technology trainings, media books and audio files, video files, kind of like the one we're creating today, that are already off the shelf. So why reinvent the wheel if we didn't need to? There are traditional books that we can put in learners' hands. There are face-to-face encounters and seminars. There are webinars. And then obviously we can create our own media, much like we're doing today. We're creating our own media it's individualized. And there are drawbacks and advantages to each of those. So as we take just a moment, we have to realize that developing your own media, for instance, is going to require money and resources, better than just an iPhone, for instance, and a laptop computer. You're going to want to make it professional when you're making presentations to 100 students at a time for many hours. As far as writing your own books, there's a time constraint there. Off-the-shelf technology requires that you have the money on a credit card or some other medium in order to purchase. So there are budgeting concerns that go into these things. As far as the live webinars, they don't come free. Webinars on the internet don't come free either. Most of the time, you have to log in, you have to plan, and you have to search for them. So there are pluses and minuses to each of those, and different learners learn better different ways. So next we're going to talk about some of those barriers. What kind of barriers do we have to these trainings? Well, first off, I'd like to point out time. Time is of the essence. This implementation that we're rolling out starts for us, as we found out today, starts out in 1 October. So we have basically 50 some odd days to pull this off. That's very little time to plan training, much less to actually implement that training. Another barrier that we've got is money. There's a finite amount of money. We're in a Department of Defense. We're in an appropriation year. At the back end of an appropriation year where money is just not rolling in. We're looking for ways to spend money, but mostly important, we're trying to pull money back to save the taxpayers some money. So money is in short supply. Support. What I mean by support is, quite honestly, how much support are we going to get from the management team? Are our managers, current managers and future managers, going to give their people the time off necessary to do this training? With the FM required training, it's a requirement. It's hardwired into that they will give them an hour every week to work on their required trainings. These are not required trainings. So are we going to get that manager support, especially during a time where our manpower is dwindling down because people are running for the streets looking for new jobs? But yet those jobs, the current jobs still need to be done, and with fewer and fewer people. Every week we have people leaving the doors. So that time, that support of the management team is going to be crucial to this. And then lastly, technology. Think about it for just a moment with the technology piece. We're reliant so much on technology. We've got people working in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. We've got people working here in San Diego. We have people working literally on at the four corners of the earth. We can't do it face to face, so that's really impractical at this point. So it's going to be technology driven at that point. Do we have the technology necessary to pull this off? Will our Navy computers, for instance, permit the use of this technology? That's a big question. With regard to the budgeting, we've got to plan the first year budget, and really for us it's going to be a 1 year budget at this point because the implementation time goes all the way through 1 April. So we really only have about an 8-month budget, so it is a 1 year budget. We're pretty much out of time to plan, but we got to plan. We're putting the budget in for 2018. So how are we going to continue this training platform all the way through until everybody's co-located in one thing, and then even beyond that, the follow-up training to make sure everybody's fully on board. And then that gets into the give and take. How much give and take can we have? If we're asking for $100,000 in training money, are we willing to play with that a little bit? Are there resources that we can produce organically that will reduce that budget line? Or is the management going to give us everything that we're asking for? Having goals is crucial to any evolution, and this one's no different. For us in this case, the goals are 100% of our new employees to attend and graduate from this training in the first year. I'd honestly say I think we need 60 or 70% of the current employees to do the same training program, just so that we have the same baseline. That would make sense to me. Now, as we move on, one of the other big goals is we can't afford any drop-off in customer service support. We need to have a high level of customer service. Our customers deserve it, they demand it, and most importantly, they're not involved directly in this. They're part of this, but the whole purpose of this evolution is to deliver better quality service over a sustained period of time. So it can't drop off in the short term. Now, finally, how are we going to evaluate the effectiveness of this training? Well, we're going to sit around and we're going to follow up with the employees themselves. We'll follow up with the managers, series of interviews. We're going to survey the customers. It's something we haven't done in the onset because we just don't have the time to go out and reach the customers. But we have thousands of customers right now, and we need to reach them. We're not going to reach them all, but we'll survey the ones that we deal with the most often, the top 50 customers. which is going to account for probably $1.5 billion in sales. So that's a big deal. We're going to do random interviews with the employees, face to face instead of just surveys. And then finally, we expect people are going to leave the organization, both now, throughout the process, and then at the back end of this. We're going to do exit interviews. And in those exit interviews, we're going to actually ask about the training, if they thought the training was valuable, if they got anything from it, and most importantly, if they thought it improved anything. So in conclusion, I would assert that training is crucial to the success of this transition. If there's one thing that's been clear to me throughout this, as an MBA student studying change, organizational change, is that so far this change process has not been managed well. So we can get the cat by the tail if we just provide the training that's necessary to help smooth the way from here on out. A needs analysis was conducted. The training was identified. The training was budgeted. We followed up, or we will follow up, to gauge the success of the training at the back end. A lot of this stuff seems common sense, honestly. I've done a lot of things in the Navy, and I've done a lot of operations, and at the back end we do what we call a hot wash. I've been in too many of those to know that many times we do the hot wash and we file it away, and then the whole thing goes, the evolution repeats itself next year with the planning and the execution and the hot wash. And how many times have I done it the second or third year around, only to find out that we've repeated the same mistakes because nobody opened what happened the last time, the lessons learned. This is crucial. We need to do this because there will be more change, and we need to learn how to manage that change and provide the training necessary to smooth that change as it goes along. And of course, if everything works out the way I hope it will, we'll have a well-functioning organization. Of course, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to call me. My phone number is 619-894-3041, and I am Willie Harris. Have a good day.